Welcome, everyone. The event is now live. John, please take it away.
Thanks, Victoria. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live Tech Talk, solving the Microsoft support problem, how to choose the right alternative to Microsoft Unified. This event was organized by the hardworking folks at Redmond Magazine, and it's sponsored by US Cloud, the world's #1 Microsoft support alternative. I'm John K. Waters, Editor-in-Chief of the Converge 360 Group of 1105 Media, and I'm joined today by Mike Jones, VP of Product Development at US Cloud, and later we'll be hearing from his colleague, Senior Account Executive Josh Harris. Hi, guys.
Hey, John. Thanks for having us.
I want to tell you a little about Mike. He's during 26 years in the Microsoft IT space. He has served as a senior systems administrator, a lead systems engineer / architect, a Microsoft design architect, and a senior solutions architect, effectively spanning the Microsoft corporate partner ecosystem. And Josh is one of those hands-on guys who works directly with US Cloud partners. I'm literally looking forward to this conversation, guys, but I've got to do a little bit of housekeeping here. This Tech Talk is being recorded for later access. Keep an eye out for an email with a link to that recording. It'll be coming your way in the next few days. Our sponsors provide us some extra resources that you definitely won't want to miss. They should be available now on your console. At the end of the conversation, we'll have a 5 to 10 minute Q&A. Please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box at any time they occur to you. We'll do our best to get to all of them. Now I'm going to take one more minute to sort of set the stage and clarify what we're going to be talking about here today. Microsoft's decision to replace its premier support model with unified support has been a costly one for many. I've got a stat here from Gartner from their recent market guide for Microsoft product support services. And they found that companies shifting from premier to unified have seen price increases of 200% in year one and increases ranging from 20% to 50% year over year thereafter. Yikes. Also, an unlimited service offering from Unified coupled with the 2023 layoffs, Gartner found, has resulted in significant support deterioration, which is not surprising. And it's not surprising that what amounts to a slowdown of support delivery has caused an increasing number of enterprises to consider alternative support solutions. But many worry that they might choose the wrong one, or worse, that making such a move might jeopardize their relationship with Microsoft. And so our focus today is on the challenges enterprises are facing in this potentially costly premier to unified transition. Mike, let's start with maybe talk about why and when Microsoft replaced premier support with unified.
Sure. So, Microsoft announced what at the time was called Project Volta. In 2017, essentially, Microsoft announced the eventual sunsetting of Microsoft Premier Support commercially to what is now renamed to Unified Support. In 2019, beginning in fiscal year 2019, so July 1st of 2019, Microsoft officially launched Unified for commercial organizations. So it's been around going on 5 years now, announced 7 years ago.
Okay. Maybe you talk a little bit about what the difference is, the differentiating features, I guess you could say, between the two.
Yeah, really, from a simplicity standpoint, really the two big differentiators between Unified and Premier is the shift from a consumption-based needs model, where Premier was really structured around what are your areas of reactive support or PRS, problem resolution, proactive, and service delivery management, aka TAM, CritSit, technical account manager, CSAM time, right? So the model was really based more on the needs-based approach, where customers could go in and essentially buy a bucket of hours in each of those different silos for their support need for the ongoing 12 months or the upcoming year. With Unified, what it switched to is more of a needs-based consumption model to a unlimited, pseudo-unlimited, and
Right.
We'll get into that a little bit here in a little while, but essentially they moved to more of a what they considered an unlimited support model. And instead of being a needs-based support model, you essentially have access to all of their quote-unquote baseline support descriptions, if you will. And what that did is it really changed the mindset of, one, taking away what a customer actually needs for support and forcing it based on your spend. And really that's where Unified comes into, right? When we talk about, how is it priced? Well, it's not based on need anymore, where you just have a bucket of hours and you utilize those in a T&M or a consumption-based approach. Now it's based off of your prior 12 months spend with Microsoft. So now they've shifted the model from a needs support model to more of what have you purchased, and we're going to charge you support based on what your spend is in primarily 3 buckets: your Azure commit or spend, your user and server licensing. So it's based on a 12-month historical look back to price out based on what you purchased. Here's your support cost.
That must hit, well, how would you characterize how that's affecting, enterprises large and small?
I mean, quite frankly, it's shocking. The key word would be sticker shock for most organizations. Going to a model where you are essentially in control of the commit and or the investment you're making for support. Now that it's based on essentially what you've committed to or what you spent through your EA or licensing agreement, it's shocking at times for customers. I mean, as you said it earlier, it could be a price increase year one when customers were switched over starting in 2019, and eventually they've all been sunsetted out. Due to COVID, they extended it another year for customers to renew on Premier before having to make the switch to Unified. You're seeing 200% price increases just in that first Unified contract year. And the more adoption of Microsoft technologies that you eventually commit to as an organization just leads to year over year price increases that never stop.
Ouch. Maybe elaborate a little bit on the value additions. I mean, why? How does Microsoft justify these price hikes between Unified and between Premier and Unified?
Well, I think that's a really great question that no one has been able to officially answer. When it comes down to the overall Unified model, essentially what they're coming to customers as is saying, hey, we're replacing the old Premier model with this more all-you-can-eat buffet of services. And again, I use that term loosely because there are a multitude of add-on services that you have to additionally pay a premium for. So as an example, your basic technical support is included in the base support plan. You have escalation management, you have what's called a customer success account manager now, used to be a TAM or a technical account manager. And CSAMs are really driving the overall relationship of the Unified support side. That's included. Essentially, you get access to Services Hub, which is the web portal for Microsoft, which is kind of the ticket portal for all incidents that you create within Microsoft. Any proactive services that you would engage them on is available there through their services catalog. And then you receive advisory support. The add-on services that customers then pay a premium for would be what they call their enhanced services. So the enhanced solutions are add-on services that you can get, like Azure Event Management, support for Mission Critical, Engineering Direct, designated support engineers, or DSEs as they call it, where it's more consultant level approach. Those are all additional add-ons to the base level support plan that you get with Microsoft. So unfortunately, when they say it's an unlimited model, it really isn't. It's unlimited support, so you can submit as many support cases as you want through the support service. However, the services itself are not unlimited to you just in the base model. There's a lot of add-on additions that customers need to look at, specifically enterprise customers that are of value, like DSEs, having that trusted consultant as an additional add-on to your IT infrastructure is really important for large enterprise customer.
Fascinating, fascinating. So we're talking about, Gartner even mentioned this sort of the quality of support being affected. And if, you look at this transition plus the layoffs in 2023,
right.
How would you characterize the quality of the support that Microsoft's customers are receiving, I guess you could say?
Definitely degraded. As far as, I talked to thousands of customers over the last couple of years as being the head of product here at US Cloud, only from an educating customers on really the Microsoft support landscape, but they're also educating me on their experiences as well. And what's been really valuable to hear from customers is the overall quality of support has dropped in the last 3 years with their overall experience with Microsoft, on top of the push to have to shift to the unified support model. Cost aside, quality is definitely taking a drastic hit. A large significant portion of Microsoft's support, L1, L2 support, is outsourced. It's not even badged Microsoft. It's VDASH. So they're contractors with Microsoft. So those are outside firms that are providing that support experience initially for customers. But Microsoft, as a flagship, has gone through a little bit of challenging times. It's the market. It definitely, everyone's kind of felt that at points in time, but it definitely didn't lend itself any favors towards the overall experience customers are having with longer ticket queues, shorter time as far as being able to engage engineers. Those times are drastically elongated as far as overall quality is concerned with customers' experience, both on the reactive and proactive side.
Given all that, what strategies would you recommend enterprises employ when negotiating with Microsoft on their support contracts under the unified model?
First and foremost, the one bit of advice I would give every customer that is going through either a negotiation or a renewal process in their support agreement is to look at third-party support. Look at someone like US Cloud or whoever else you're going to be looking at, preferably us, but always go out and get a competitive bid from a third party. Microsoft, it's a newer in this space. It's not new to me, not new to our organization, but it's newer to some customers to know that there are other options out there. And that's really what our value, our core value of our business is to provide a choice in this Microsoft support ecosystem. There never really has been. It's always been the OEM. It's always been Microsoft. Yeah, you have partner support. You have managed services providers that can provide some level of support for customers as well. But overall, from an enterprise support perspective, it's really relatively new in this space. Yes, we kind of trailblazed this back in 2019 when we saw that shift to unified, but it's starting to become more evolved where customers are getting way more educated on their support experience. They're paying attention to the dollars and cents and the quality, and they're looking, well, how can I make this experience better? So first and foremost is go out there and get a competitive bid. The reason for that, if anything, at the very minimum, it gives you negotiating power with Microsoft to let them know that you are specifically looking at other options other than Microsoft Unified, gives you a little bit of negotiating power when you're going back to Microsoft, knowing that you have competitive bid offers that you can look at seriously. Secondly, I would say that from an overall standpoint is, work with the Gartners, work with the Infotechs of the world, the directions on Microsoft, the consultant. If you do those consultancy, have those discussions with your teams on that. Get an outside third-party perspective on really what your options are in that marketplace. It's really about educating yourself and understanding how that Microsoft negotiation process works, what services are of value to you to negotiate that in your renewal as far as your support agreement is concerned.
Okay, so you're with US Cloud, so you've got a specific offering, but just generally speaking, what sort of solutions support solutions are enterprises looking for, and how are they comparing with Microsoft's in terms of cost and service quality?
So, I'll speak about us, and then I'll kind of speak generally about some of the other competitive third parties out there. First and foremost, we were kind of the trailblazers of this space. We're a few years ahead of most of the other competitors. What you're starting to see in the space is a lot of CSPs or cloud solution providers that resell licensing to customers are starting to come out with more of a managed services help desk scenario and building off of that and starting to dip into that more L2 to L4 enterprise support space. What customers should be looking for is true 24/7, 365 support operations. They should be looking at all of the additional services like proactive advisory services that are very important to maintaining their organization and business as well. And consulting. Consulting is a very important thing with all of the latest, greatest technologies Microsoft is coming out with, Copilot kind of being that new buzzword right now in AI. It's definitely good to have a trusted advisor and a support provider that does expand more than just help desk style approach of reactive cases. Having a company that can also work with proactive project-based implementation engineers that cross collaborate is a very important thing to organizations. And I think it's something that's critical when they're looking at a provider to make sure that they're getting like for like what they were showing of value from Microsoft, making sure that they're getting that in a third party.
Fascinating. Okay, what should organizations look for in alternative support services? Maybe talk about U.S. Cloud.
Yeah, so I think this is a great segue now for me to introduce Josh Aris. He's a senior account manager here at U.S. Cloud. What we'd like to do is kind of give him a few minutes to kind of talk about our overall offering and kind of educate customers that may not know who U.S. Cloud is. We're going to tell you who we are.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Mike and John. Nice to meet everybody. Again, my name is Josh Aris, account executive here at U.S. Cloud. So over the next 10 minutes or so, I just want to take you through our general service offering. This is kind of the presentation I would give, as a first step if you were to be interested in learning more about U.S. Cloud and what we do. So, as Mike and John were talking about, most companies are going to come to U.S. Cloud for one of two reasons. Usually it's a combination of the two. They're starting to see the price of their support contracts continue to go up, especially if you've now renewed your unified agreement 2-3 times. A lot of times we're seeing anywhere from 50 to 100%, if not more, just because again, the way that Unified's pricing their service, it's directly tied to to your spend with Microsoft, and it has nothing to do with your actual level of need. And so they're seeing prices go up. Quality of the support they're getting is continuing to get worse and worse, and they're scratching their head and they're wondering, what else is out there? And that is really where we come in. So U.S. Cloud is the #1 replacement for Microsoft Unified support in the world. We're recognized by Gartner as the only true viable one-for-one replacement for Unified. And as Mike alluded to earlier, there are a lot of third-party and other options out there, but we're really the only organization that intentionally built this service offering from the ground up to truly replace what you would get through Microsoft. So, that means we're able to come in and provide not just reactive services, but also proactive services. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but it's really our goal to provide you with the choice in the Microsoft support market. It's our mission to be faster, to provide higher quality support for less. We'll talk about how we're able to do that. And then, our offering allows you to come in and purchase a predetermined bucket of hours based on your needs, as Mike was talking about, and not so much really has nothing to do with how much you spend. So ours is a consumption-based model. And we really just take a look at your needs, and that's how we will provide pricing. So I always like to show this slide here just to give you the confidence that we can support an organization of your size and scale. So to date, we've replaced unified support for over 6.5 million Microsoft users all around the globe. You can see here just an example of some of the organizations that we work with. Right now, I believe we're getting close to, if not past, about 45 of the Fortune 500 companies. So again, very large enterprise level organizations that have global support needs. So we are able to come in and support companies with the global footprint. And businesses and enterprises worldwide are making the switch from Microsoft to US Cloud because they want faster, US-based support that's higher quality, and they want to save money. And we're able to come in and we're able to do that. So price is typically our foot in the door. So I always like to talk about price. And one of the biggest questions I get, aside from how can you actually come in and provide better support for less, which we'll certainly talk about. But one of the questions I get on every call is how do you actually price your service? So what we do is we will take a look back at your last 12 months of usage, and then we will run that through, and Mike can certainly elaborate on this because Mike's team's the one that builds these quotes. But we take a look at your usage report from the last 12 months. We'll look at the technologies and severities of each ticket, and we effectively run that through a formula, and then that spits out an estimated bucket of hours. And then we'll talk through, whether we feel like that is still going to be the need for the year moving forward, because obviously that is, a lagging indicator of future need. But we'll start there. It's a good baseline to get started off of. And because our model is a needs-based model, and we're not really taking a look at your spend with Microsoft, we're able to come in and provide substantial savings. So we're usually seeing anywhere from 30 to 50%. Some larger enterprise organizations that have astronomical Microsoft spend, sometimes we're actually able to come in and save them a little bit more than that. But we guarantee a minimum of 30% savings. So, as Mike said, going into negotiations with Microsoft without a competitive quote in hand, you almost have no leverage. So that's something that we will provide clients with at the very least. Is we're happy to meet and get you a quote so you can at least go to the negotiation table with a little bit of leverage. Another thing that Mike talked about, so everything within our service offering, we have very aggressive financially backed SLAs. I'll get into the details of that. Everything is baked directly into the service. You don't have to pay extra for priority support for certain technologies. It's all baked right in. The only add-on that we have are dedicated support engineers. If you do have a DSE need with Microsoft right now, that's something that we do provide. So we can certainly talk about that if there's questions there. Another thing I like to highlight is our 30-day POC period. So this is it's sort of like a paid trial, but we use it a few different ways, and I typically recommend clients. So let's say your resub date with Microsoft is the end of June. A lot of companies are renewing at the end of June, and so what this allows you to do is we would want to get start talking probably pretty soon, but we could get you onboarded, so you could sign with US Cloud, get you onboarded, towards the end of May. That then gives us 30 days to get in, get you fully onboarded. You can make sure that everything is, up to the quality that you expect. Everything is as advertised. Get all your users in your client portal, meet your TAM, and then, we can ingest tickets even from Microsoft, so we can start to work some of those tickets that are in flight while you still have your agreement open with Microsoft. That gives you 30 days to test the solution or to test our service out. If for some reason things aren't working out, you could always cancel. You only pay for the hours that you consume. But really, what we're trying to do here is give you a little bit of an on-ramp so we can get you fully onboarded, get you up to speed, get everybody within your organization familiar with US Cloud, and then by the time your support agreement lapses with Microsoft, we're already off to the races. There's no interruption in service, and it's a clean handoff between Microsoft and US Cloud. So that's, generally speaking, that's how we price the service. Now let's talk about the actual service offering, because this really is the most important piece. Saving money is great, but we are really focused on providing a much higher level, faster, better quality support. And we're able to do that. So we break our offering down into really 3 buckets, if you will. But the nice thing is you've got that 1 bucket of hours that you can pull from, and you don't, similar like you used to have to do with Premier support. You used to have to say, I want 300 hours for reactive break fix, and then I need another 200 for proactive services, and it's kind of tough to really forecast that. We just allow you to come in, purchase 1 bucket of hours, and you can use those hours as you see fit. So you can use them for reactive cases, you can use them for proactive engagements, any type of consulting offering that we have, with the exception of the DSE, right? That dedicated support engineer, that would be a separate bucket of hours. But generally speaking, we've got the problem resolution service, or PRS as we call it. That's our bread and butter. That's, something breaks, you submit a ticket to us, and we will help resolve that case. So we support the entire Microsoft stack, 24/7, 365, on-prem, cloud-based technologies, all severities, again, worldwide support. We do have a dedicated escalation path, or a managed escalation path back to Microsoft if needed, which is a very important piece of the puzzle. So we are still able to get you back to Microsoft if needed through a dedicated support partner of ours, or a dedicated escalation partner of ours. But we really strive to resolve the vast majority of cases in-house. So right now we're resolving 80 to 85% of cases in-house without any involvement from Microsoft, which again allows us to just come in and be much, much quicker and much more effective. And then this is a really important piece too. We offer financially backed SLAs, which Microsoft certainly does not. So we have financially backed SLAs around initial response time, engagement, and escalation. So I'll highlight just one or two of these. So we've got an initial response SLA of 15 minutes. So you submit a ticket to us, you're going to get a response within 15 minutes. I think right now we're averaging about 4 minutes for a response. And then we've also got engagement SLAs to back those up, and escalation SLAs to back those up as well. And then you can also engage us with that bucket of hours for any proactive services. So, this allows us to come in and provide that full one-for-one replacement for what you'd have with Unified. A question I get a lot of the times as well is, around the quality of the engineers that you'll be working with. So because we specifically support enterprise organizations, we don't staff, level 1 or tier 1 engineers. We only staff level 2 through level 4. So the level 2 team really works as the triage team. They're the ones that are going to be intaking those tickets, assessing the technology severity, and then getting you on to the level 3 or level 4. They've got a minimum of 5 years experience working directly in the Microsoft support environment. And then the level 3 and level 4 engineers that you'll be working with have an average of just over 16 years experience working directly in the Microsoft technology stack. So very senior level, very experienced engineers. All of our engineers are based here in the United States, but we do offer 24/7, 365 support. So you get access to just over 400 engineers, through US Cloud and our partner network. And then we believe in a more interconnected pod structure, which really gives our engineers the ability to have a much more deeper account knowledge than you're going to experience with Microsoft. So on this next slide, I like to show this because it gives you the side-by-side comparison of how our service offering, or how we're structured compared to Microsoft. So Mike talked about, a lot of these VDASH employees or these vendors. So Microsoft has a ton of different vendors that they use, and they all operate in silos. So they don't communicate to each other. A lot of them don't even use the same ticketing system for some reason. But you get pinballed around, and you end up repeating yourself a ton, which just really draws out response time and resolution time. Whereas we take a much more client-centric, cohesive approach, and our engineers work in pods, like I was saying. So, you'll get familiar with the same, 2 to 3 pods, dozen to 2 dozen engineers, and again, they're going to have more familiarity with your account and your environment, and it's just a much better experience. And then if and when we have to escalate back to Microsoft, we do have that path. And we've got the numbers to back it up too. So I would just invite you to take a look at our website. We talked through a lot of this stuff. Mike covered a lot of this in some of the questions that he was answering before. But, ultimately the biggest difference that you're going to experience with US Cloud and Microsoft, or even a lot of the other third parties for that matter, is we're just going to be much faster to respond, much faster to get you engaged with the right resource internally, and then ultimately much faster to get the issue resolved. And we're able to do that because this is all we do. So we don't have any other lines of business. We don't support any other OEMs. We're extremely focused on doing one thing very, very well. 100% of our revenue is tied to supporting the Microsoft technology stack. And if we weren't good at it, we probably wouldn't have made it this far, right? Because we do work with some very large organizations. So I would invite you just to check out our website. You can go to uscloud.com, or you can scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner. We post our stats live. I took this screenshot a couple days ago, but we don't hide behind any of our numbers. We've got a really nice client portal that you'll get access to, where we post all of our, all of your specific account numbers around, time to resolution, all of our SLAs, everything there. I've got some performance metrics here, which I'll put these up on the screen. You can certainly review these on the recording, because I know I'm running out of time here. But yeah, generally speaking, that's who we are at US Cloud. That's what we do. Hopefully shed some light on that. And if there's any questions, you could certainly drop those in the Q&A.
Thanks, Josh. Listening to you talk, making your presentation as a third-party provider reminds me of this old saw we used to hear a lot in Silicon Valley. Nobody ever gets fired for buying IBM. And we all know what that means. Basically, it means that if, rather than buying a potentially better or cheaper alternative solution from a less well-known company and taking the chance you'll get in trouble if something goes wrong, Big Blue was always the simplest and safest choice. How are you guys, when you talk to potential customers, how do you talk to them about this, mitigating the risk of jeopardizing their relationship with Microsoft when they're exploring transitioning to alternative support solutions?
It really comes down to one of the things that we talk about with customers is, educating them on, making sure that they're aware that there are really two primary divisions of Microsoft, right? You've got the EA sales support side of Microsoft, which is your account team where they're selling you the EA, they're selling you the licensing and software products, right? And they're providing you with resources like funding, like Fast Track is a pretty common one that most customers know about. Those are all funded through your sales support team. Then you've got the Microsoft Unified side, right? These are two siloed aspects of Microsoft. The Unified support side is over here, EA sales support side's over here. So when we talk about mitigating risk, we make sure to tell customers that your relationship with Microsoft is going to continue on. You're still a valuable customer of Microsoft from a software product standpoint, licensing standpoint. So you're still going to have interactions with Microsoft. What US Cloud or a third party essentially replaces is the overall support experience, who you call for support, and the CSAM experience. It's replaced with a TAM at US Cloud. So we provide that to you, and Services Hub. So the web portal the account portal that you're used to doing through Services Hub is replaced with our own proprietary account portal.
Fascinating. By the way, Josh, feel free to weigh in at any time. Let me ask this. How should enterprises prepare for the transition to ensure minimal disruption of their operations?
When I look at it, kind of like an airport, right? When we're talking about the landing strip. So when it comes down to preparing for looking at options, typically customers, from what I've seen, are doing it somewhere between 90 and 180 days prior to coming up to their resub date or their expiring contract with Microsoft. I would urge the sooner the better, right, for customers to get out there, whether that's a year in advance. We talk to some customers that have a 2-year sales cycle. They want to really get in. They want to understand the model. They want to educate themselves on what the options are, like for like comparison for the next year, making a decision. But ideally, what we talk about with customers to make sure the transition has as minimal disruption as possible is essentially getting into that 90-day to 180-day, so 3 to 6 months typically, where we work with you. Our onboarding process itself is very involved. We have a very good onboarding team that is dedicated to making sure new customers are set up correctly, they have access to the service, that they're evangelizing within the organization on what services we provide and what we're providing as far as the replacement to Microsoft support. So in that process, we do a lot of diligence, right? I mean, outside of provisioning your account and giving you access to our portal, if you will, the go live of the service, we're also doing environment discoveries with your stakeholders. We want to understand what are the Microsoft technologies you will rely upon us for support. It's really good to get an understanding of that, day one. We also do ticket ingest and prioritization, right? So we're looking at, okay, what are your current open Microsoft cases that will need to be carried over into the US Cloud support ecosystem after that support contract expires, because whether you know it or not, Microsoft will close those cases when your contract, on that contract expiration date, they will close out any existing cases. They won't continue to work with you on that. So we always encourage customers continue to work with them up until the point where we need to transition those over. We create an ingest plan. We prioritize, okay, which ones are higher impact of criticality to get those back into our support ecosystem. So when we talk about the transition, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks is optimal, right? A lot of our customers take us up on our proof of concept trial, where that's you get access to the full system. We bring you in as a customer and you really try us out. We want to make sure that it's a good fit, not only for us, but for you as well.
Fascinating. Okay. I don't know this for a fact, but I suspect that Microsoft got quite a bit of feedback given those Gartner numbers from the companies concerning the transition. Have you heard, has Microsoft responded?
We have not. I have not heard any official response from Microsoft around the overall support quality and what they're doing. There was rumblings, I would say, early 2023 around them kind of doubling down on their actual badged Microsoft support engineering divisions. And then 2 months later, they went through rifts. I saw, there was a workforce reduction. So, as far as their official response, I have not seen an actual response on how they plan to address the support quality or lack of support issues in this current space. And really, what I see trending in this market space is Microsoft really becoming more reliant on their partner ecosystem, which supports the third-party support model, right? So they're really reliant upon their MSPs and CSP partners out there to provide that direct support for customers, to limit essentially the number of support cases that need to go back to the mothership, aka Microsoft support, to begin with. So I'm seeing a trend of an influx of a model where it is becoming more common to go to your partner to provide that level of support for your enterprise.
Well, you anticipated my next question, so I think that's all the questions I've got right now. Let's see what our attendees are wondering about. Let's start with this one from. Let me pull this up here real quick. This is from Vic. Might as well go right with the skeptic here. I don't understand how you can save 100% U.S. People and still be cheaper than Microsoft. I don't believe you.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that. Really what it comes down to is, as Josh said in his presentation, we can't stress it enough, this is the only line of business that US Cloud does. We are hyper focused on enterprise Microsoft support. That's all we do. We don't deal with other OEMs, but when it comes to Microsoft, we don't sell licensing, we don't sell hardware. We are focused on our product, which is support, solutions, and advisory, right? So proactive, reactive, that's what we do. One, so our overhead's a lot less because we don't have other lines of business to try and support those as well. We're very focused on the Microsoft support game, and that's all we're looking to do at this point. Outside of that, from a US-based approach, initially when our company came into inception, it was really focused around potentially the US government, right? Fed space. And Microsoft, where I think they've had some challenges, unfortunately, is the ability to guarantee US national support. They really cannot, in their complete outsource model that they have today, they can't guarantee customers, especially in the Fed space, they cannot guarantee you that only US-based citizens are going to work on your issues and touch your information. And that's a huge problem for a lot of customers out there that are not running in those cloud level tenants of GCC High or DoD. They're running in Gov Cloud, or they're running in commercial, and essentially they can't guarantee that they will have CONUS or continental US support. So when we started out in this journey, we were kind of focused on, hey, we're going to do US based support. And then it started expanding. We had commercial customers coming to us saying, hey, you've got US-based support, you're a cheaper option, you're as good or better quality of support that we're seeing at Microsoft today. Let's take a look at that. And it really just kind of blew up from there, right? So initially, you know, the US-based support has been our focus, including our partner network. So Josh talked about our elite partner network. You know, it's all US-based. All the resources, all the partners, internal and our partner ecosystem are 100% US-based citizens. So we do guarantee that as part of the service. But again, we can control our costs because we are an independent provider. So we're not bound by Microsoft's partner pricing conditions. We are immune to that at this point. So it gives us the ability to, one, control the product that we are providing customers, the services, and the cost.
Okay, here's sort of an urgent question from Phil. He says, our unified support renewal date is February 29th of this year. Is it reasonable to get a replacement figured out and working in a week?
Well, I'll tell you a story that'll lead to the answer in this. And the answer is we run at your speed. We definitely have the ability to react quickly. Most of the process is more in the contractual red line process, right? The legal side of it. Once we can get through, you know, a contract, our onboarding process is typically 3 business days. So we have the ability to do that. We've even worked with customers over a weekend in my story where we had a very large enterprise customer, and the last minute Microsoft kind of came back to the table with an offer they had to refuse, essentially, and came to us, and we had them onboarded over a weekend and had them going and ready for support. So we, you know, our goal is to partner with customers. Our product is our people, it's our service, it's our engineering solution. So, you know, we do have the ability to be flexible because we are not segregated or siloed like Microsoft is today, and we're able to kind of meet those demands. So the answer is yes, we could absolutely work with you at your speed and guarantee, even if we're still going through a few of the final steps. You know, we've gotten customers up in a V.1 state where they can call us for support while their portal is being provisioned, as an example, to make sure they have coverage.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, Phil, I would just say, Phil, if you wanted to take this offline and figure out how we might be able to do that, if you wanted to just go to the website, you could request more information on it. I'll make sure I keep an eye out, or you could just, you know, you could send me your email. I don't know if we can chat on here, but I could certainly help you accelerate that process.
And another thing I will throw on there, you know, for the customers out there that maybe don't want to look at it and they don't feel like they have enough runway to get things done, is you always have the option of going back to Microsoft and requesting an extension. So I see Microsoft doing it time and time again for customers where they'll give them a 30-day extension on their renewal contract, right? To make sure that you have enough appropriate time to make an informed and well-educated decision. There's always an option to go back. The worst they can say is nope, which I've never seen them do.
Okay, David is wondering, do you have any higher ed customers?
We do. So our product really transcends segments or markets. You know, we have a lot of higher ed, post-secondary education customers, so universities in the U.S. We have a lot of school districts as well, and municipalities. But yes, we absolutely have a lot of higher ed customers currently today. We have some of them in our client advocacy program. So we do provide client references and try to stay within each market based on the customer's segment. And we're happy to share those as we go through the process with customers during our sales cycle, connecting them with other higher ed customers to see some of the things and how we support them.
Okay, here's a question from Lynn, who is a frequent attendee. Hi, Lynn. Always asks pretty big questions, so maybe take on as much of this as you feel you can. Can you share specific examples of scenarios where organizations found limitations in Microsoft support offerings?
Limitations in Microsoft support offerings. A couple of scenarios that come to top of mind would be more around the proactive and advisory services that Microsoft provides. Right now, the timings that I'm hearing from customers is outside of reactive. For proactive or advisory requests, they're months booked up, right? You can't get timely advisory. You can't get, if there is a proactive or project service and implementation you're looking to do, customers are months behind in the scheduling of being able to accomplish that. And that really puts some businesses behind the eight ball where they have planned IT initiatives that they need to transact or budget for within their budget cycle or fiscal year. So I see a lot of limitations around the delivery of the proactive or advisory services that Microsoft provides. I think from a reactive standpoint, the limitations I think I see most of the time is again, to go back to kind of how the structure of Microsoft support exists today. It's around that siloed support contractor approach. You don't really have true integrated support capabilities. So what customers end up doing is they end up going through, the Groundhog Day effect, where they continually, they'll submit a support request, they'll start working with a resource, they'll get to a point where that resource, it either is a different technology or they don't have the capabilities to resolve it, and they try to escalate, and then it gets switched over to another team, and you start over right from the beginning. You have to start over where you are. There's no picking up where you left off. And I think that provides a limitation in the overall experience that I feel customers should be receiving today. Those are kind of the two top ones that I can think of top of my head around limitations.
Awesome. Okay, we've got a question here from Simon, who's just making sure U.S. Cloud supports both Microsoft on-prem and Azure Cloud, right?
So we do. So our support services covers the entire Microsoft support umbrella. So anything on-prem, hybrid, cloud, all those products, Azure, Office 365, Dynamics, to your on-prem technologies, SCCM, Exchange, Active Directory, Windows platform, so Windows Server, Windows Desktop, security, all of those product stacks are covered within our support. It's really kind of easier to talk when customers ask me that. Essentially, I say it's probably easier to talk about what we don't really staff for. It's not that we don't support it, it's what we don't really staff around. Some of the lesser used, like BizTalk is one that'll come up on a random day, and we really don't staff around BizTalk. But again, remember, we've got our ecosystem of our engineering resources. On top of that, we have our MSP or Elite Partner Network, and they facilitate some of those areas where we may not invest a lot of staffing in because it's not really a need in that space, like BizTalk. We have partners that support it. And again, never forget, unlike the SAP or the Oracle, the Remini Streets and the Spinnakers of the world, we don't freeze your instance. We have access to the OEM at the back end. So always as a backstop, you have Microsoft there. You have us, you have a partner ecosystem as part of one service, but we also have a path and a channel to Microsoft. So we always have them available to support you should we be unable to resolve it or incapable based on cloud technologies where only Microsoft has the hands-on access to resolve those issues.
Okay, here's one from Bjorn, who's wondering, does U.S. Cloud provide training services for end users and or engineers?
So our training service, so I'll preface that with a disclaimer. We are not a Microsoft certified trainer. So when it comes down to technical certification training paths, we don't provide that curriculum, classroom-based with lab exercise trainings. What we do provide is more of a customizable training or knowledge transfer approach. So yes, we do provide trainings from our proactive services division. And essentially what we do is we meet with the customer and look at, okay, what is the outcomes you're looking to achieve, right? And it's more around, is it a specific technology? Are we doing more of an engineer high-level training where it's a knowledge transfer and we're building like a lab environment and showing you all of the the capabilities of the product? Absolutely. You know, when COVID hit, we did a really big training video on demand for quite a few customers on that shift to the remote working on Teams. So we did some trainings on user trainings on how to use Teams from remote working when everybody was shifting to work from home. Those are some examples of some things that we do, but it's pretty much unlimited. It's a blank canvas when you work with us on trainings. We get very specific. It's not a cookie cutter template style approach that we take. It's much more customizable to your environment. We even do the trainings within your own dev or QA or test environments. So we're using your data and familiarity with your systems as far as our trainings are concerned.
Fascinating. Okay, here's one from Mark, who's wondering, what type of support do you have for SQL Server?
We support the entire SQL Server stack. So from a SQL Server perspective, you know, obviously we do Azure SQL. We support SQL on-prem as well. That really falls under our SQL development team support organization. We support the Power Platform BI as well. There's a lot of cross-pollination with SQL in the like SharePoint and SharePoint space as well. So yes, we provide everything on SQL Server. One of the things that I'll throw out as a caveat on top of that is we also, from a reasonable effort approach, will support end of life, end of support technologies. So if customers out there are running, you know, an older non-supported version of SQL Server, but they still have to maintain that within their organization, we are still there to support those products from a reasonable effort approach. So what we mean by that is restoration of service. We don't provide hot fixes or patches, only Microsoft does that. But when it comes down to supporting those technologies that may be end of support, we are still there to help you from a restoration or break fix standpoint.
Okay, here's another one from Phil, who's wondering, Microsoft keeps rolling out new solutions, but their support teams are clueless, trying to support them. Examples are IGA and GSA. How do you guys support things like this?
So really, when it comes down to our methodology on new technologies and tip of the spear things that come out with Microsoft, we try to get in advance a lot of working practical knowledge. And what I mean by that is we have partners that are very hooked in to the product and development teams at Microsoft. So we get a lot of the information in advance to get up to speed on some of these existing technologies. You know, our partners definitely lend a lot of valuable resources and education to our customers as well on those products. We partner with, you know, like Directions on Microsoft as an example, and they do a really good job of the Microsoft roadmap. They probably do a better job of Microsoft's roadmap than Microsoft does. So we try to stay on the top level of what are the trending technologies, what are the changes coming down with new solutions and feature enhancements or you know, solutions that are being sunsetted and discontinued. We do a really good job of trying to be diligent on staying on those technologies. Now, with that being said, there may be cases where, you know, I say we support the entire Microsoft stack. You know, Microsoft through acquisition or partnership has other OEM products running within their environments. A perfect example would be like SAP running in Azure, right? So SAP can run on Azure instances. We support the Azure infrastructure, networking components, all of the surrounding technology, but the SAP application side of it, we do not support. We leverage that through we escalate that to Microsoft and have them work that part of that support with customers.
Fascinating. Okay, Peter is wondering, what limits do you have around who can raise a case?
We have so our service is very open. We don't have a maximum number of users that can utilize the service. We allow the customers to make that and police that themselves, essentially. So it's really up to you, the customer, to determine who will have access to your hours of service and utilize the service as far as a user is concerned. We also give our customers admin access, so you can grant admin access to individual users to create logins for their own employees. So essentially, we allow you the ability to kind of manage and maintain that yourself.
Okay. Matt is wondering, is the hardware support for Microsoft Surface Pros affected by this?
No. So this support is really in regards to software products, not hardware products, specifically Surface Pros. Those are separate support agreements as far as Microsoft is concerned. So you still have support for Surface Pros. Now, when it comes down to the software or application side of those Surface Pros, that's where we help you out, right? So, if you're running from a application standpoint in that Surface Pro, we are there to support you. But when it comes down to specific based on that question, hardware is kind of that keyword I'm focusing on. That's still through Microsoft directly.
Fascinating. Okay, we've got one here from Andre who's wondering, so you sell direct to enterprise and end users, right?
We do. We are direct, right? So we essentially, our service is direct to enterprise customers. And again, we span all customer segments. So we span the SMB, mid-market, and enterprise. So it's not just about the big guys. We also support a lot of SMB market customers as well. It's really anyone that is looking at Unified as potentially either being a pricing concern, a quality concern, or both. We are that valid alternative for you to look at.
Okay, we got one more here. This is from Tori, and I know you've already talked about this a little bit, but it's worth repeating. Where can I go to do further research?
Yeah, so first and foremost, as I said earlier, if you have existing partnerships with third-party consulting like Directors on Microsoft, the Infotechs, Gartners, they are a great resource for independent third-party support options. They have a lot of white papers. They actually just submitted one, I believe, last month on this year's options. Another great resource, that I have to do the shameful plug is uscloud.com. We do a lot of blogs and technical articles around Microsoft support, negotiation tactics for Unified. We really are trying, outside of customers coming to us and being our customer, we're also trying to educate the marketplace and give customers additional information to help them, whether they choose us or not. So uscloud.com is definitely a great resource for finding a lot of different information on support, negotiation, on Unified renewals. All of that information is in our site, and we do a lot of tech blogs as well for customers. So that's a great resource to utilize.
Okay, we've got a couple more minutes, so I'm going to go squeeze in Joe's question here at the end. He's wondering, do you support end-of-life operating systems like Server 2012 if you are paying for extended support through Microsoft?
So the extended support, or ESU, is a separate support agreement for those products. If you have products that are under ESU, you can still continue to maintain that support directly with Microsoft. We do, however, support customers from a restoration or break fix standpoint on those end of life or end of support products. So you can absolutely leverage your US Cloud hours, if you will, to support you on initiatives around reactive break fix or proactive advisory on those technologies. But if you have ESU, it's obviously, that's an investment you've already made in those product stacks, and you can continue to leverage Microsoft support for that while that ESU is activated. So it's really up to the customer to decide how they want to use or who they want to go to.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this Tech Talk. I want to thank Mike Jones and Josh Aris for an informative conversation, and many thanks to the folks at US Cloud for making this conversation possible. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, everybody.